So welcome everyone. We are so thrilled to have you all for our info session on the Rutgers I-Corps site. And if you didn't know, I in Icor stands for innovation, and we are funded by the National Science Foundation. I have some of my Icor colleagues today with me. Dunbar Burney. Dunbar, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Dunbar Burney. I'm a professor in the Department of Material Science and Engineering. I'm the PI for the NSF grant that supports this. I love patents and innovation. I've participated in inventing things in the solar space, but I like this program because we help out all kinds of inventors. So glad you're here.
And I'm Lori Dars. I'm the director of the Rutgers I-Corps site. I've been at Rutgers a while. I worked in the original department. It had a different name at the time. Now it's Innovation Ventures, but the department that does patents and licenses for Rutgers for a number of years. Got involved with the national Icor program. Do a lot with innovation and entrepreneurship at the university. I founded the Rutgers Entrepreneurship Coalition. I also now work with the Masters in Business and Science program as a senior advisor for the externship program. And as director of Icor, I say it's probably one of my favorite things to do because I get to work with all of you from across the university. We are totally inclusive of all departments, divisions, students, faculty, staff, and alumni. And I get to work with this team. Mark, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Lori. Hi, everyone. I'm Mark Guzman. I'm the program manager of the Rutgers I-Corps site. I have material science engineering background with an MBA from Rutgers Business School, and I actually worked in the physics department in Newark campus developing an innovation. And through that innovation, I was able to serve on a national Icor team as the entrepreneurial lead. Really kind of transformational experience. It was really exciting, and I'm really happy to help train up teams going through our Icor site to go into national. It's really almost like a culture shock. So we really want to help teams understand how to best prepare to get their innovation out of their lab and into the market.
Great, thanks, Mark. And Dan Benderly, who's not here right now, he rounds out our leadership team. He is really a lifetime entrepreneur. He's only been with the university a few years, working in our Innovation Ventures group. So he's a great member of our team. We also have a number of teaching team members that you'll meet if you join the program, from the life sciences space, from the Small Business Development Center, from the School of Communication. So we have a very well-rounded team. Just trying to advance my slides. Weird. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to be going over some of the key points of Icor. And again, feel free to put any questions you have in the chat. If we can't get to them right now, we have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. But Icor was created by the National Science Foundation because they saw there was a lot of research that they funded in university labs and research centers across the university, but it wasn't getting out to benefit society. So there's really four key needs that Icor solves, and it's training an entrepreneurial workforce. We do a lot of education on business concepts and terms. Translating technologies, that's really moving innovations so they can become commercialized, again, getting them out of that research lab and into the marketplace. Enabling economic impact. If you see some of the data that's on the screen here, this is from the Icor, their recent biennial report, and over 1,000 Icor teams have launched startups. That leads to a lot of jobs out in the workforce. There's been a lot of follow-on funding. It's a successful program. And then nurturing an innovation ecosystem. So Rutgers is a great conduit to the ecosystem. We have these amazing students, faculty, staff, and a lot of innovations. But our ecosystem is more than us. It's all the businesses and all the service providers, the funders, and so many groups within the region. Who's ever on the phone? Oh, I'm just going to mute you. So many people within the region really create our ecosystem, and Icor takes advantage of all that. So we are really excited to announce that we were named one of 5 hubs in the country. The NSF has gotten additional funding. It is legislated. The Icor program is legislated as really the gold standard for commercializing research out of a university. And with this new Northeast Region hub, we're going to be working with Princeton, the University of Delaware, NJIT, Rowan, Temple, Lehigh, Delaware State, and some other schools as we expand our hub. And we're really thrilled with this news because as we begin in 2022, we'll be able to offer expanded programs and opportunities for the Rutgers community. So we're here today to talk to you about the I-Corps Site Program at Rutgers. We run what's called the regional program. And just to give you some details about our I-Corps Site Program, you do not need to have any previous NSF research to be part of this program. You can join as a faculty, as a staff, as a student, as an alumni. We are a feeder program to the National Icor program. It's a great stepping stone for a lot of teams. Not all our teams are appropriate for the national team, but quite a few of them are. And we do align closely with that national program in that our goals are really to get basic research commercialized. We help teams do this by, we de-risk their innovation. They learn about their value proposition, they learn about their customer segments, and they really take their innovation to the next step. It really helps teams understand the market potential for their innovation by going through the Icor program. As we've mentioned, you are all here today and you come from different departments, different schools. Our program is a cohort-based program and we increase your connections to people across the university. If you go on to that national program, you'll meet people throughout the country. And we really are a bridge between the lab and the marketplace, as it says on the slide. It's just a great program to meet others and to get some assistance from different units, different perspectives, and really focus, take that dedicated time to focus on your innovation. So why would you want to participate in Icor? What are some of the reasons? And basically, the key point is to really learn about your innovation, to see the impact it'll have in the market and help you take that path closer to commercialization. Again, as I said, it's that dedicated time. Our cohorts are about 5 weeks. So over that 5-week time, you're really focused on your innovation and on like I said, the value proposition and the customer segments. Teams that go through Icor have a lot of success in other programs. So whether they're going for government grants, other funding opportunities, seeking business plan competitions, you learn a lot about your innovation, about your team, and it leads to increased success in other programs. You also learn about your customers, and that's probably the key thing. You may have a wonderful innovation, but if there's not a customer out there to buy it or use it, your product's not going to succeed. And this program really helps you learn why customers care about your innovation and what makes your innovation special. The program is known for innovators who we call it failing fast. It's a 5-week program. We typically don't see innovations that are failing. What we typically see is those innovations maybe that need to reach out to a different customer segment, or we call it the pivot. Maybe what they're working on needs to have some slight changes or tweaks. So that's more often what we see, but this program kind of shines a light on those types of opportunities for you. It's also great career development for students and for faculty and for staff. You're going to be presenting during our program. You're going to be doing interviews, writing out questions, sometimes developing skills that you may not have had the opportunity to develop in your studies or in your lab or wherever you're coming from. Everybody gets something a little bit different from Icor, but it's a hands-on program, so you are very much a part of everything that goes on. It's not just like reading something. It's very integrative. you are, again, presenting, you are interviewing, you are getting feedback and kind of modifying what you have. So there's a lot going on, and you do get a lot of skills. And again, those collaborations are invaluable. These are people you meet that you can connect with forever going forward. So I'm a little, for some reason, I'm out of order here, and I'm not sure why. I'm going to go back to this. Mark, I'm going to go to you, and we'll go back to that other slide.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lori. So this Icor program, it's been around for about less than 10, probably about 8 years or 9 years. It was really founded by Steve Blank. He was a professor at Stanford who had this class called the Lean Launchpad methodology. And really it involves the scientific method and experimenting what your hypotheses are about who your customer is and what value you think you're providing. And a lot of it is really good ideas in people's head, but he recognized you have to really get out of the building to really understand what people are dealing with and whether or not they have an interest in your innovation, not because they like you, but because you're solving one of their problems. And so it's really about evidence-based entrepreneurship through customer discovery, that interviewing potential customers to find out what their wants and needs are. Lori, next slide, please.
Sure.
And so this program, it is really an experience, right? It's an experience that you can't read about. That's why, we could talk about it here and we'll help you along the way if you do Icor. But the idea is once you go through the experience, you really learn so much and you take that experience with you in everything you do moving forward. So a lot of it's a flipped classroom approach. So a lot of the activities happen outside of the class. Like when we meet, we have certain sessions when we meet. But when we meet, we do interactive exercises. And since we're virtual now, we do a lot of exercises in the breakout rooms and role playing and mapping and things like this. So we do meet once a week. There are a couple times where we meet a couple times, like twice a week. But basically, you have an opportunity to not just learn from the teaching team, but also learn from each other, because nobody really is an expert in customer discovery. But everybody has an opportunity to learn new things about your innovation. And so you learn from each other. It's like what works, what doesn't work, and things like that. It's really a great opportunity for professional development. So a lot of, faculty and students, everybody wants professional development. They want to get better at what they're doing. So this is really, experiential learning and building on the skills like communication skills, presentation skills, leadership. All these things are really foundational for Icor. And there's a lot of online videos where Steve Blank is telling you how to do customer discovery interviews and things like that. So you learn that way. And we have a software platform called Innovation Within, where we document all these interviews, what people said, and really we can have the teaching team actually go in and give you feedback on the interviews that you've been doing too, and your business model canvas. And also just networking. So it's been a little bit of a challenge to network as much in this virtual space that we've been doing since last year. But we've been, we have a meet and greet where you can meet others and a couple of times throughout the cohort and afterwards as well. We actually just had an in-person Icor picnic, alumni reunion. It was really fun. It was good to get together for in person. Okay, Lori, next slide, please. And so this is a picture of the business model canvas. Basically, there are 9 components that any business can be described using this business model canvas. In our Rutgers I-Corps Site Program, we focus only on these 2 in the red box, the value propositions in the middle and the customer segments on the right. Because basically, if you can't get those 2 right, there's no reason in going to the rest of the campus. Right, you need to make sure you get product market fit when those 2 lines up. When those 2 line up, then you can have product market fit. Then you can move on to the rest of the campus, which in the national Icor, they do focus on all 9 elements of the canvas. So our programs gives you like concentrated time, about 5 weeks, to really make sure you got this right. Pivot if necessary, or adjust. Maybe you have a different customer that you hadn't thought of, or slightly tweaking, like Lori said, or pivoting. But once you do that, then you should be ready for the national Icor. Okay, next. So each week we have, weekly sessions on Friday mornings. There's a couple Tuesday afternoons, and each week has a theme. So first we do customer discovery, then value propositions. These are parts of the business model canvas, and the customers, users, payers. We do have in the middle, in week 4, required office hours. That's like you have 15, 20 minutes time, like scheduled time to meet with the teaching team to really get prolonged discussions and feedback about where you're at in the process, what you're planning to do next, where you need help. Because we know that the entrepreneurship is really a team sport. You can't do everything on your own. You don't have the experience, you don't have the expertise. So we want to make sure that we help you. We want innovators to be successful coming from Rutgers. So we ask you, tap us, tap our knowledge, reach out to us, and we'll help you as best we can. But in the final session on week 5, we have you do a final presentation about what you learned in your whole Icor journey. And then you talk about your next steps. In that last week, we do introduce you to a lot of different resources, funding opportunities, programs, accelerators, different things available to you after you do Icor. And then we come up with an action plan with you to ensure that you move forward and don't just, stop. We really want to help you. Next. And one other way that we can help through NSF funding is these reimbursable expenses. Each Icor team is eligible to receive up to $2,500 in reimbursable expenses that are specifically for customer discovery. So that's going to virtual conferences or professional associations. Before COVID, it was really about traveling on site to these conferences or to meet with a specific customer. And people did that. They flew all the way to California. They had some meetings. They would go to Texas or Massachusetts. Now in this COVID world we're living in now, a lot of it has been moved to virtual conferences and trade shows, memberships to professional associations, but also Zoom Pro or LinkedIn Premium. These are all different things that can help you get in touch with potential customers so you can do these interviews. And there's a couple of things that are disallowed, but we can get into that later. And again, this is a team-based program. It's not for one person. If a one-person team is kind of like a non-starter, we want to make sure that we help you. So an entrepreneurial lead is on the top here in green. That's typically a student, a graduate student or postdoc who has entrepreneurial spirit, right? They're the ones who are able to think about who this innovation could help the most and how. And so they're really running the show for the Icor team. They're the ones who do the presentations. They organize a lot of the interview notes and scheduling, and they pretty much are the lead of the team. The second team member here on the blue is the academic lead or technical lead. They're typically the faculty member or inventor of the technology, someone who really understands the science of the innovation. So that way, when you meet with potential customers, they have an understanding of what customers want and what the technology can actually do. And if they need to pivot, then they can, right? And then third is the industry mentor. This industry mentor is someone from outside the university who has ties to industry and connections that can introduce the team to these people so they can get professional opinions. And hopefully they have also some entrepreneurial experience to successfully commercializing a technology in the space. In our Icor program, we require at least 2 members, but there's actually ways that we can help get you to that 2. If you have 1 person applying, we do have a way to get you to 2 or more. Next slide, please, Lori. And just this last year, we were awarded from NSF a diversity and inclusion Icor supplement to help create, next slide, this Icor Fellowship program. Okay, where we're recruiting students from diverse backgrounds and underrepresented groups to have a paid stipend to participate in this Icor educational experience. That way they can have an opportunity to learn about innovation and entrepreneurship. There's 2 types of fellows. You can be a team member fellow, where you will play a supporting role as like a co-entrepreneurial lead to help support the primary entrepreneurial lead. We expect those fellows to be willing to learn and coachable. It's really great networking opportunity. But basically anything that the primary entrepreneurial lead can do, the fellow can do as well. But they're able, if they wanted, we just want them to be able to contribute in a meaningful way. You can really help with customer discovery interviews, innovation within activities, watching the videos, organizing thoughts, putting notes, all these different things. The second type is a cohort and ecosystem fellow, someone who works more closely with the Icor leadership team and managing the cohort and learning how to communicate across the different teams and organization and things like that. Post-session meetings and how to give feedback to the teams, And we also have an Icore associate opportunity. Not all the students who want to apply for Icore fall under the underrepresented category. So for those who want to participate in Icore but are not in an underrepresented group, you can still apply to be an Icore associate. We just hope you have a passion for innovation and entrepreneurship, good GPA and some leadership experience. And again, if there's a need for a team, then we will try to connect you as best you can. We're going to interview each of you who apply if there's a team that aligns with what you're looking to do and what your experience is. Okay, Laurie, next.
So
Yeah.
right now, instead of us continuing to tell you about the program and some of the great pieces of it, we thought it'd be good for you to hear from someone who went through it. We have one of our Icor fellows with us today. Beyonce Doyle is with us, and she's going to talk a little bit about the fellow program and about Icor in general, because she's had a few different roles as a fellow. Beyonce?
Hi. Hello, everyone. I hope that you are enjoying and finding all of the information here valuable. I'm not sure what happened. Can you
I just stopped sharing. I just stopped sharing so you could talk.
Okay.
I spotlighted you, Beyonce, so everybody can see you.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so yes, I hope everyone is finding the information here valuable. As Laurie and Mark said, my name is Beyonce Doyle. I am a senior at Fairleigh Dickinson University. So I joined Icor in March, spring of this year as a fellow. And I really enjoyed being a part of the team. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of my experience. So originally I had applied and I graduate this winter. So I was looking for something a little different outside of what I had been doing for the last 4 years. As a student, I understand that sometimes you want experiences outside of the classroom or the research lab. It can go both ways, especially as a science student. So we want to utilize our time wisely. We want to, find things that are resume boosting and impactful in our education. And when I was working with Icor, I found all of those things and more. I was working on a team called GREET, and this was very interesting, different from my day-to-day. I was working with 5 men for a team that was producing a breast milk supplement. So I'm sure you can imagine how that went. And being the only female on the team, originally I felt maybe like I was out of place, but I noticed throughout the program how impactful I was, and able to go into my community and find different resources to help the team find their customer segments, which is very important within the program. But not only that, I was able to find actual need for their innovation out there as well, because in underrepresented communities, there are many different issues that aligned with that team's goal in selling those formulas. So throughout the program, I also was able to connect with different industry mentors and network in ways that I had never done before. I've joined and stayed with the team for this long, so I think we're pretty good. Mark, Laurie, Dunbar, and Dan, he's not here, but they've been very impactful in helping me grow and find skills, just whether that be through the interviewing or even holding calls like this. So if you're someone who's interested in entrepreneurship or working on an innovation and just trying to gain experience beyond research, Icor is an opportunity that you should really grab onto and hold on to. And you can really gain skills through this opportunity. Laurie, can you still see me?
Yep, I can see you.
Okay, I'm not sure what just happened.
You're fine. I don't see any difference.
Okay. But overall, my experience was amazing. I enjoy working with the team, and I look forward to seeing all of you and your innovations as well. I'm happy to see some faces on here as well. And if there are any questions during the Q&A, I can answer primarily from a student's perspective and help with those as well.
Thank you, Beyonce. Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Just realized I'm not a good typist in the chat, and I put the wrong there in. I'm going to share my screen again. Hold on. Here we go. So after each of our Icor sessions, we survey all our participants. We do our own customer discovery. So we know we run our cohorts and we do them, but there's always room for improvement. There's always things that we could change or tweak a little bit. So based on those surveys, we wanted to share with you some of the feedback that we learned. And I guess the main thing that came out of our surveys is that what our participants said is they developed new thinking, new skills, met new people, and had new opportunities. Just some of the things was learning to think like an entrepreneur, particularly from our fellows and our student team members. They became more confident. As Beyonce said, you join a team and you're maybe different from the other members, or sometimes you have an undergraduate joining a team of all PhDs and they're not sure that they can contribute, but then they learn that they do have a lot to contribute. Part of it is that our research faculty are so close to their innovations, they have a hard time looking at it from an outside perspective. And that's something that our fellows bring to the table, and sometimes our industry mentors as well. They give a fresh pair of eyes for those innovations. People will learn how to do customer interviews, getting out of their comfort zone, right? Doing a cold interview or a cold email to someone you don't know is sometimes a really difficult task. But the skills that you learn through Icor not only help you with future innovations, but they can help you with future positions you're going for. Putting Icor on a resume, as Beyonce said, could help you with a fellowship or a scholarship. For our faculty, it really allows them to look at their research from a totally different perspective. Now they're actually thinking about the customer and not just looking at it as research, but thinking of how can I help society with this innovation? How can my innovation, make people's lives easier or better? So, it's just done a lot of great things for our teams. And I have one of our teams from SEBS, Zenith Therapeutics. I have Ariana. The teaching team's guidance was invaluable, helping us to simplify how we introduced our technology and target customer segments we would not have thought of otherwise. This particular team went through the national, or got accepted into the national Icor program. They're writing some big grants right now, and it just helped them kind of pinpoint what they needed to do with their innovation. They definitely did a little bit of a pivot. We have another example from an academic lead from Cohort 7. And this is hard for a lot of people. They want to tell everybody about their innovation. It's their baby, right? I have this research, I'm working on this. This is, what my innovation does, but Icor kind of flips that concept on its head, and you're asking people about their problem and, learning about where you could fit in, like what they do on a typical basis, how they currently solve the problem. And you're not selling what you have, but you're listening. And if you find this difficult, Icor will definitely help you kind of get over this, because that's where you get the gold, is when you do those interviews and somebody says something to you that you never thought of, or gives you a potential new customer segment, or talks about a feature that you could incorporate into your innovation that you just didn't think of. So really a lot of skills are developed. Just a few of our teams and some of the successes that they've had. We've had everything from large SBIR grants from some of our teams, Renew CO2, some incubators, Skydeck. A lot of our teams have gone through the Health Advance program, which is Rutgers funding opportunity. We had a team win a VentureWell competition, first place, that was BurnFlex. Some of our student teams, Smart MS3 has won an award. They just got announced that they are in the running for another funding opportunity coming up. Sulis was in the Holt Prize. This is a student team. It's an innovation for mental health. They've won a bunch of different prizes. So this is just a sampling of some of our teams, but it's really the experience of going through Icor has really helped them clarify, the next steps for their innovation and kind of what they need to do to take it forward. Mark, you want to talk about applications?
Yes, thanks, Lori. So yeah, our applications are open now. So if you are interested in learning more, you can definitely reach out to us. Our email and our contact information is below. But we do have a rolling application deadline of September 24th for cohort 12. The dates will be from mid-October till late November. And our future cohorts will be held in 2022 under the Icor Northeast Hub. So things may change, but for right now, we're running the 5-week cohort now. And again, we're open to all Rutgers faculty, staff, and students, and teams with innovations from the invited schools in the region, including Hispanic serving institutions or historically Black colleges and universities or tribal colleges. Again, reach out to us. And we also have the Icore Fellowship available. Lori, if you go to the next slide. Yeah, so there's this survey that we'd ask you to fill out. That's an online application talking about your leadership experience, any interest or experience with innovation entrepreneurship, and why you want to be an Icore Fellow. And based on what you learn, we want to make sure you, based on what you submit your application under, we'll try to match you with a team that aligns with your interests and what you're learning to, what you're hoping to learn. We'll interview you and we'll get to know you better, and then we'll try to match you. It is a two-way process, so we'll introduce you to a team and the team has to accept you, but also at the same token, you don't have to accept their team if you don't like them. If you don't feel like that's something that you're interested in doing, that's fine too. We want to make sure each team, it's a good match. Yeah, and so the fellowship application is there on the link as well. Okay, but yeah, so now I think, Lori, maybe your last slide. Yeah. So, thank you for joining us. And we understand that, we're thankful for you to register and join us for this info session. I apologize if there were any problems joining. Some people joined a little bit late. I'll try to address that. I think I figured out what happened, but, there may be other people in your department that might be interested in this or that you think could really benefit by learning more about Icore. So please help spread the word. And our contact information is here. You can apply at the icor.rutgers.edu website. Or the fellowship website. Okay.
And now if anybody wants to go off mute and ask us any questions, feel free to do so or write them in the chat. We're happy to answer any questions. No questions are bad questions.
Okay. Lori, maybe you could stop sharing so we could see people.
Yeah. I do want to clarify, I know Kate had a question about associates and fellows. So when teams apply to Icore, they have an innovation and at least 2 members, and we can help you locate additional team members. Fellows are either matched to a team, and that's the most common way, or we usually will accept 1 or so cohort fellows that will help out our teaching and leadership team. So they help us run the cohort, but they do not have to have their own innovations. And associates are those students that typically they apply to the fellowship, but they're not underrepresented, but we find that they have leadership experience, they're interested in innovation, and we think they'd be a great asset to a team. We will try to match them. There is not a guarantee that we accept every fellow or associate that applies. It really depends if there's a match to a team. Sometimes we get teams with 5 or 6 members and they don't need fellows or associates. So every cohort's different. It depends on the teams that we get and kind of what needs that they have. So Joseph asked about, he's really busy this semester, but wants to know if Icore is going to be happening in future semesters. And yes, Joseph, there will be cohorts happening in 2022. Because we are moving to the hub model, we're not sure of the dates. We believe there will probably be more opportunities. It won't be strictly for Rutgers. We think it'll probably be more, everything's going to be regionalized, which is kind of what we do now anyway. We've often had teams from other schools participate in Icore. So there may be even more than 3 cohorts that you could participate in a year, mixed with people from other schools. But as soon as we get information on what that schedule is going to be, we're going to start having some more info sessions, and we'll post it on our website.
So to amplify on that, yes, we will be doing this for the next 5 years. We have this grant with Princeton and NJIT in Delaware and other schools. And so, but it will, as Lori said, have more of a regional focus. But that's an opportunity to be networking in a broader scope and meeting people who have good ideas and might give you advice in the way you're going forward.
There might even be an opportunity to form teams from the schools, have a team with multiple schools on a team.
Yeah, that'd be really exciting, actually. So one thing I would encourage teams to consider is if they're like thinking about Icor, or if they know they're working on an innovation, but they're not ready yet to apply or anything, just reach out and find out more, because what we like to do is for teams who are not quite ready who think they're not quite ready, it turns out they are ready in a certain way, but in other aspects, they might need a team member, and we can help match a team member with them. So we do our best to help facilitate team preparation, right? So we do our best to match people to make this doable for students and faculty teams. And a lot of faculty have the misperception that the faculty member has to do everything. It's really primarily run by the entrepreneurial lead, and the faculty kind of takes a step back and almost like supports the entrepreneurial lead, but they really give the guidance and the technical expertise and the industry connections that the team needs. They still participate, but in a way that in a much less way than they originally thought that they would, because it's different from the research, right? The research, they really have to run everything, but in Icor, it's a little bit different. So we encourage you to talk to us and have any misconceptions or misunderstandings really fleshed out, so you really know if it's right for you.
Yeah, it's one of our pivots. We originally interviewed teams and kind of talked about the program, but now we prepare teams for the program, whether you're going to get accepted into this cohort or future. We just find it enables a better experience for everybody if we kind of help you get ready for what's involved.
So I was going to make a point about the sort of stage of an innovation that might fit in the program. Sometimes you would be a faculty member who's filed an invention disclosure. There might not be a patent yet. It might still be at an early ideation stage. Or if you're a student, you might not have filed a patent yet, but have an idea. And so it really is quite suitable at that stage, because we're not focusing on the patentability of what your idea is. We're instead helping you focus on the marketplace and have conversations with people who might be customers in the future, and figuring out what would be the right way to steer, perhaps pivot, and refine ideas that you have that might influence a patent application that you make later, but you're never really talking about the secret sauce with your customers, hopefully, so you're not jeopardizing your patentability, but it's not required that you have that already nailed down. So it's good for early stage idea exploration in a way.
And one thing I forgot if we mentioned it directly, so I'll say it here. In our Icor Site program, we have 5 weeks to do 25 customer discovery interviews, 25, right, over 5 weeks. In the National Icor, it's double the pace, where you have to do about 100 interviews over 7 weeks. Okay, so our Icor Site program here at Rutgers is like an on-ramp to the national, because it's really intense. Like I said in the beginning, it's 10 to 15 interviews per week. So in our site program, we expect 5 to 7 interviews per week, where you can really get your feet wet, like get a little bit warmed up on how to approach customers like potential customers properly, how to write the emails. We train you on that, what to say, what not to say. So again, we want to give you and kind of ease you into the Icor process, because it can be really daunting if you just you jump in straight away.
And Kate had a question about the teams. As Dunbar mentioned, we do typically have about 10 teams per cohort. On average, we've run as small as 7, and we've run up to 12 teams. Sometimes we have more teams and we lose a team when they first start, just because they have a conflict or something. So we've had 13 accepted and ran with 12. We've had 11. We've had 10. We've had, that's our goal. Our ideal teams are faculty researchers. They get our first order of priority. but typically there's always space in our cohorts for some student teams. We wanted to expand to the broader community. So to encourage diversity inclusion, we opened up to teams from the community. So I would say if you looked at our history, probably 50 to 60% of our teams have been faculty. Another 25% have been student teams, and the other 25% are alumni or regional teams. So that's about a breakout, but you know, that's about how we kind of prioritize the program. But we love all our innovators, and it's a great environment where everybody's working together, learning from one another and meeting from all these different disciplines.
So I would say if you're interested in Icor, if you're ready to apply, go ahead and apply because it is a rolling application deadline. But if you're just interested and want to learn more, you can have a conversation with us. You can talk to us about your innovation, and we'll have a discussion about your team or where you are in the stage. Because basically what we've seen is that through Icor, we really help facilitate a lot of these activities, these commercialization activities. And without it, you're kind of on your own, right? So you kind of have to just figure it out. And so we want to help you figure it out. But a lot of people, because the university is so big, a lot of people don't know about Icor. So that's why I would encourage you to kind of spread the word to other people in your department who you think are working on an innovation that could learn from us or learn from working with us about the Icor program. But we are happy to answer questions and get you prepared either for this cohort or next cohort or the year after or whatever. We want your commercialization, we want your technology to be commercialized, and we're going to help you any way we can. Okay, great. So this is our first info session for the semester. We are going to do one more later in the month. We still have to land that date down. So if you are interested, like if you know of other people and you want to send them to us, or we'll have another Eventbrite sent out, hopefully with the right link that will work properly. And then you'll have one final chance to apply for those other people who are invited. Okay. So
any other questions? We're happy to answer any other questions if you guys want to go and unmute yourselves.
Yeah. And again, we want to see you too. We want to meet you, right? We want to see how you guys are innovating. All right. I will stop the recording.
Oh, I think Sharon had a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are
Sharon.
you? Good to see you.
I'm wonderful. My opinion on Icor is a wonderful experience, and it's like cracking the egg to get to the center. But my question is, because I just did it last cohort, and following up, now I have additional customer segments I want to follow through, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm ready to be out here doing this by myself. I think I want to come back. So there is, can we reapply as a team if we have the same innovation, but pivoting in different ways, or if we're still,
What
in the
about
beginning
continuing?
ideation sauce?
Yeah, so
What about
Sharon, I would say definitely put in an application, but you have to, and then Laura had put something in the chat suggesting that maybe if you were exploring a different idea, I think what you were running with your program over the summer is really, an excellent commercialization offering, and figuring out how to do that is important. And it's great to hear that you want to do more customer discovery with our assistants. But I would say I would be kind of on the fence. If there's a team that applies, if we have many teams that apply because you've already had some training from us, you already have the tools, and we can keep meeting with you occasionally and giving you pep talks. You wouldn't have to go through. But if we have space, and I know you love doing this with us, definitely put in. So.
I was going to suggest to Sharon that you continue your innovation within subscription, so that you have that tool to help you. and that you can just
Mhm.
schedule follow-up office hours with us. So we can meet with you
Okay.
and guide you versus going through the, the whole program again. Certainly if you have a new
Mhm.
innovation, but I don't think you need the whole program. I think you just need a little bit of encouragement and the
Yes,
tool.
encouragement and yeah, and tools. Because I found out just walking into buy a cheesesteak, ended up having a conversation, and the owner comes out from the back of the restaurant. They're like, "Oh, we love this. Can I get your information? We want to talk to our partners and get something going." And it made me realize that I hadn't really considered small businesses with a focus on hospitality in our customer segment. I had went immediately with education, K through 12. And now suddenly it seems that people are walking up like, hey, I want to talk to you about this. So I'm experiencing that shift that you guys discussed during the process.
Hi, hello. So can I ask a question?
Sure.
So I would like to apply to this fellowship, but I would like to know what happens if, for example, the product or the invention that I would have in mind is not directly bought by a customer, like the public. What kind of interviews can I make? Like, for example, I do engineering, and probably the product that I would make is like the piece of chip that goes into a cell phone, and no one knows how it works. How do I try to commercialize it?
Great question. I think a lot of people with a STEM-based innovation, like a technology, they have no idea how it gets into the market, right? You have to understand what that technology does better than others, right? And how it does it better and whether it would fit. And that's why we have to do this, interviews with industry professionals to really understand what the market problem is and if your technology solves that problem. It's not enough just to be a chip. Your chip has to be either faster or better. It has to be on some dimension an improvement on what's out there already, right? It could be cost, it could be size, right? But you really, you have an idea, you have a hypothesis of why it's better, but you have to go into the market to find out. Maybe people don't care about the cost and they really want something that doesn't heat up, right? Something heats up and then it breaks the phone or something. Like you have to understand what the problem is that exists in the market and see if your technology is something that could actually solve that problem. Maybe you have to design it in a different way that you hadn't thought of before, but now that you know what the customer problems are, you can design it in a way that solves that problem rather than the way you thought they were looking for. You know what I mean? That's what Icore is all about.
Then
Well,
I heard
when
that
when you have something that's integrated into a system, then you have to realize who are the people that are making those systems and pulling the pieces together. You might end up needing to talk to the design engineers in big companies that are going to be buying little parts from you as a supplier for one part of this. But like Mark said, it probably is something where when you're making your chip, there's something special about it that other people can't do. And then it's understanding how you can make it be valuable to those bigger system integrator kinds of people. So it's the value, and then who is it going to be picking it and trying to get conversation going with people like that.
And you don't have to know. The idea is you have to have a thought of what you think it is, and then we'll give you the tools and the training to go figure it out by meeting with the market. So nobody's saying that you have to be right. You just have to have a guess, and then it could be totally right. Like you think that people care about the size or the heating up, but maybe people care about the material, right? If it's a green, sustainable material, maybe that's what will create value, So we have to figure it out.
And we find the teams that don't know get the most out of the program. They admit what they don't know. It's those that come in and think they know everything. They have a hard time when they find out maybe they don't know everything. So if you can say, hey, I want to learn, and there's things I'm not sure about, you're going to do really well. We do what's called an ecosystem map. And it's one of those exercises that people really struggle with. And the more they struggle, but by the time they finish and they've gone through a few iterations and learned like who's using their product, who's buying their product, who's recommending their product. There's things called the saboteurs, people who may want to prevent your product. When they learn kind of who those different people are, it really helps you understand your customer and kind of what you're designing and for whom. but you should come in not knowing everything.
See, okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor.
Sorry, I have to go. I have another call that starts now, but definitely send in your applications.
That's right. Well, I'll be honest. And one last question about educational products that I heard Cheryl may be doing. How is like, that's a different, like a whole different topic, but do you also run things for that? For like, does it have to be on always science and engineering technology, or does it have to be?
So the National Science Foundation has a very broad definition of STEM. And if you look at their website, it gives you all the different research areas, but educational tools and whatnot is part of their area. So we do include educational tools. We'll also include, if we have space, we've had teams go through with social innovations. As I think Mark mentioned, the National Science Foundation is trying to broaden participation and outreach to for diversity and inclusion. Sometimes we have innovations that are helpful to those populations, right? Could be something for a disabled population. They may not fit into a normal, what you would think of as a STEM, but we might accept them because it's part of what we think is important. Same thing with the social innovation. So yes, I'd say 60-70% of our innovations are definitely hardcore STEM, but there's always room for apps and things that are maybe they're not what you would consider traditional.
I see. Well, thank you very much. I have like I definitely want to apply. I also needed to know if this is part of the Innovation Ventures department in the whole. Is it?
So we work very closely with them. So we are Dan Benderly, who is in Innovation Vendors, as part of our teaching team. And if we are working with a faculty that has an innovation that's gone through the department, we will loop in the licensing manager. They're invited to attend our sessions. When we have our follow-up next steps meetings, we invite the licensing manager. So we work very closely with them. But it's a National Science Foundation funded program.
I see that. That's actually great. I had like the tickle for both of them, but I don't know exactly what would be my start point. Would I be better starting with you guys, trying to like apply with you guys, and then following probably next step with them?
I think
through the system.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you're at in your innovation, but a lot of times it starts with an introduction to Icor, and then if you apply to Icor, then we can introduce you to the Innovation Ventures group, and they can help assess where you're at. But don't let one or the other stop you. Do both, right? Because you're gonna have to do both anyway. Whichever one you click submit to first, it really doesn't matter. But just do them quickly, because we find a lot of people wait, and before years go by and they didn't realize how much time is lost. So
one important point though, if you are planning on doing any kind of disclosure, whether publicly, online, or written, then you should talk to Innovation Ventures and make sure your innovation is protected before you make it public. In Icor, we ask that you don't disclose anything that hasn't been, we don't want to hear any confidential information, because we are in a big group and it's a mixed setting. We only want you to talk in general terms. So you can tell us like what you have, but not the secret sauce. You can be very general. So if you are thinking of doing any kind of publication, then you probably do want to go to Innovation Ventures. They're not going to stop you from publishing. They just want to make sure you're protected before you publish, so that you protect your intellectual property.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for your time. It was great. I got the answers that I wanted, and I'm sorry that I think I'm the last one. Sorry for keeping you.
No, you had very good questions. I think that are it could apply to all. I don't know if Francine or Anthony or anyone else on the call has any other questions, but Mark and I have a few minutes, so we can hang out if you have more questions.
I do have a question. I saw in the chat about a mentor list and an application for a mentor. So is that something, if I apply, do you need to include that in the application? Is it something that's gets discussed afterwards?
You can submit in your application that you need help finding or locating a mentor. And from that point, then we'll know that we can send you the mentor request form. And we try our best to match a mentor with you before the Icore session starts. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes by week 3, we found a mentor who's willing to work with you, and then we'll match you with them. The idea of getting the mentor in our Icor Site program is that hopefully you'll have that mentor. If you want to move forward into National Icor, then that mentor will be with you through the National Icor. That's
Okay,
the whole. Otherwise, you just have to figure it out on your own, and it's just you'd be surprised how many times I see applications that say we have no ties to industry, right? So that's why we want to help connect you guys where you need.
And
Okay,
you don't need to have a mentor for our program, but as Mark mentioned, we try to match you because we found that teams that have a mentor, do a better job going through the program. And then if you are going to go to national, as he mentioned, you do need a mentor. So the sooner you start working with someone, the better. We've had teams switch mentors though. They started with one mentor, and for whatever reason, maybe they want somebody in a different field, or the mentor got a full-time job or something, they switch. But it still is helpful if you have a mentor going through our program, but it's not required.
okay, and I wouldn't even know what kind of mentor I would need, so I'm assuming
That's why we can help.
there would be some assistance with that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
I'm going to stop the recording, Lori, but we can still take questions.